super soggy day, Southern California. I was going to give you guys a driving impression on the old Tanes. But yeah, we ain't doing much of anything. It's wet and slippery, and you know, this thing bounces around as it is. I mean, truth be told, I don't think I should probably be doing the driving impression anyway, seeing as that I think the dampers are blown on the Tanes. They need a rebuild. Hence why we're going to the S3s with the new Swift Springs. You know, trying to bring some new life into the car. The car's fine, man. Love this thing. I mean, dude, look at all the space. Look at all that. So much space for activities in this thing. It's just so fun to drive. You know, it's got all the fun of a fit and the practicality of a fit, but it's just a little more refined. It's you know, it's like a little tiny little go-kart. 6-speed manual. Fun, fun, fun. Alrighty guys, so here it comes. S3 coilovers. These are what we'll work with CRZ. And some of you guys in the road race community have heard of them. Some of them you have not. This is my first time dancing with these guys and trying to try out their coilovers. I've heard good things for the community. They are not a 100% dedicated motorsport unit. These are designed for the entry-level enthusiasts that don't want the function and form and the Godspeed bullshit. These are built by enthusiasts, or pieced together, I should say, by enthusiasts. So most people think that a coilover company builds coilovers. No. Most instances, majority of the companies you see today, like the Feel suspension, all the, you know, the China brands, Godspeed, the Skunk 2s, stuff like that, and even these guys, they're gonna be buying their product, like the hard components, like the bottom sections, the collars, the threaded bodies. They're gonna be buying them from a third-party manufacturer, say like overseas in China, Taiwan. Now, they pick their flavor, how they do their QC, stuff like that is really gonna set them apart. If they care about their product, they check those items. I know Odie from Feels, when last I spoke with him, he was saying something to the regard of, they even check the bore centricity in the, where the valve and everything sits for the piston and the damper. And they wanna make sure that it's as round as possible, not out of round. That way the seal itself isn't forced to do anything that would create too much heat and compromise the seal's ability to do its job. So he's taken the effort to go forward and make sure that the product that he's assembling with is good enough for his final assembly. Hopefully these guys are doing the same. I haven't had a chance yet to tour the facility. They have a new shop. Maybe we'll do a video on that and go see how their method is for assembling their units. So far so good. Let me give you the rundown on this. So far, initial impressions. Packaging was really nice. It's kind of a mess now. It was really nice. Order a set, you'll see. Pretty standard affair. The bottom sections for McPherson style suspension, all steel. This is thick steel. Now, the importance of this, people don't understand, is this section right here is structural. If we run over to the car, and we look here, your knuckle assembly, ooh, it's hard to do this one-handed. Your knuckle attaches to the coilover. The bottom section, that's all structural. So super important that that is super robust, because as your suspension is going and hitting bumps and you're hitting apexes, that's really gonna take a beating. So aluminum, just say no. Nice steel construction. The thread is very well machined. I don't feel any burrs so far. I've kind of played with these for a bit. So far so good. They've moved to a different perch style where it is a open type perch collar that you screw in together, and as it compresses, it pinches and holds itself in place. So that's gonna be pretty fun to look at, and you know, minimal tools in the field to do my job and make adjustments if need be. They do exclusively use Swift springs, so these were custom spec'd out. I went ahead and I gave them the current spring yield that I'm using on the Tane stuff that I got in the car, and we went a little bit stiffer. We're going to be using a 7K front and rear on this vehicle. Top hats, nice machined aluminum top hat. Receives the top bearing for the top hat, the OE, I believe it's like a radial bearing. It receives all that really nice, locates. You have a set of spacers over here. They run 2 spacers in order to achieve the proper ride height, or sorry, not ride height, the proper top hat height, I should say. And this right here is, here we go, bump stop. Bump stop is pretty decent quality. It's not a cheapy bump stop, nice rubber unit. Should be pretty robust. Interested to pick their brain as to how they do their valving, and if they are truly valving these things in the United States, or they're having their vendor valve them for their spec outside of the United States. So now that stuff, we'll go ahead and, if you want me to ask them questions, put it in the comments, see if they'll let us go over there and do a technical review and let them talk about their coilovers a little bit, let you know the highlights. But we'll go ahead and put them on the CRZ. I was going to give the drive impressions of the Tane versus this, but unfortunately the Tanes are blown and the dampers just bounce around like crazy, so there really is no way for me to give a true before and after. We'll go ahead and put these on. Fingers crossed. Another observation I was making, looking at the dampers, I don't see any scribes, any notes on here to say, hey, you know, we went ahead and we're custom making these. I'll go ahead and pull this apart. Give me a second. We'll fast forward through all that. So yeah, so looking at the top, no notes either. So another question to ask the guys over at S3 as to how they're valving these things out. If they have a certain tried and true recipe that they like with the valving, and that's kind of like their neutral valving, yeah, their neutral valving that they like going with the their dampers, knowing the Honda market so well because they have so many applications for the Hondas and in the road race and time attack community. Perhaps maybe they got their own style and that's the way they like them, or maybe that's the way they're coming from overseas. I don't know. I haven't asked them, can't attest to it. We'll go ahead and ask them that when we go visit the facility. One thing I noticed, so the bottom collars for the rear, you kind of see in there, it's not fully threaded. The threads probably come down to about right there where my thumb's at. So when we do alignments, I often see these not set properly. Everyone worries about the spring and the ride height of the car, but you want to make sure that you have proper thread engagement here. You're not overextending, and this goes for any body on a coilover, front or rear. You don't want to have 2 or 3 threads of engagement and then all of a sudden it tears out, because these are aluminum. So I did notice in the bodies here, there's a deep groove, and I'm assuming that's the minimum that you can be as far as down this area of threaded area. So at least you have this much engagement for this much thread in the collar. Kind of cool. Finally done for the day. Phone stopped ringing, cars are out the door, back to work. Old ones are out in the front, already halfway done. Got one of them bad boys up in there. So we'll go ahead, I'll get this thing all slapped together. Once it's all put back together, we'll set all the basic settings, kind of get like a neutral set the right height, and then I'll drive it around. We want the springs to settle. Once the springs get settled, then we'll readjust the right height a second time, so that's final, and then boom, put her on the alignment rack. Got her all squared up, and then we hit the track. Good morning. Out and about trying to get an evaluation on this S3 suspension. So haven't aligned the car yet, just kind of ballparked it in. The car was aligned before, so whenever I do a suspension install, I measure everything. Shock lengths go in about the same length, spring, because the divorce shock and spring in the rear, that goes in at about the same rough height as, you know, the previous units. But Jesus Christ, man, these things are bouncy. Initial settings on it, when I first got them out of the box, the damping settings were all the way set to hard, and on those settings, you don't want to crash them. When they come to the end, you don't want to take the adapter or the tops and twist them all the way to the last setting and then like lock them in place. You don't want to do that. That creates all sorts of issues. They were bound. All four of them were bound up. I had to take the adjuster attachments for the tops and install them just to get leverage and break them free. The positive little clicks you get, the little detents, are iffy at best. They're either I can feel the positive click or I can't feel the positive click. It's very inconsistent. It's very weird. Reminds me of the cheaper Godspeed stuff. I'll give the guys over there a call or a DM and see what they have to say about that. Always interested on the feedback. Like I said, it's my first set. Perhaps maybe I just got the duds. Went ahead and decided to go with a 7K Swift spring. Talking to the guys over there at S3, looking at what I previously had, the Tane system. That one, according to Tane's measurements and my recommendations from S3, that was a 5K spring, and the car did move quite a bit. I mean, I'm 230 pounds. When I get in the car, it squats a hair bit. Don't want that, especially in the rear of the CRZ. There's no alignment adjustment, so when I set the ride height and set my toe, I want as little deflection as possible. Initial deflection, of course, when you're checking in the corner, you want it to squat a little bit, but just my body weight sitting in the car, I mean, I'm a fat guy. You know, that ain't the business, sitting there trying to sit in the car and then all of a sudden your toe moves on you. I'll show you guys more about, whoa, there goes more of that bouncing. Dude, my ample bosom's just bouncing around, so I mean, at this rate, it's becoming an OnlyFans video. Went ahead and drove these things in the mid setting, and you think the bouncing's bad now. In the mid setting, they were pretty damn bad. I was hopping all over the place. The car was not fun to drive. Went all the way to the full softest setting, and it's tolerable. It's still the frequency at which things are kind of moving around. It's not really what you would say be refined. So it either means the damper's not doing its job, and it's just solely the spring that I'm riding on. I will try a different tire setup. The current tire setup I'm on right now, it's a tall sidewall. It's my street tire. It's a Falcon all-season tire, and it's a 225, 50, or 55 series, so it's got some meat on it. And those love handles on the tires, man, they aid in a softer ride, but paired with the heavier springs that I'm used to riding in, that could be part of my issue. Could be that the sidewall is causing more kind of undulation, and it's just kind of bouncing back with the stiff spring. So I'll go ahead and I'll get my smaller wheel and tire combo with the Toyo Proxies, the road race tires I have for the DG hatchback, or Time Attack Civic, and I'll give that a go on here, give it an assessment, and see what comes of it. maybe something, maybe, who knows? You know, it could get harsher, but this is applied science. So we'll go ahead and we'll try that out and see what that yields. So we'll get a few more miles on her, let things settle a bit more. I'll go ahead and take the wheels off the car, get it back on the rack, re-torque everything, get my baseline settings, make sure everything is properly snugged up. Once that's done, we'll put it on the alignment rack and get things all situated. And then we'll go ahead and do a proper assessment with a proper alignment for the suspension. Granted, this synopsis right now isn't, you know, handling dynamics, so to speak. It's just the initial take on how things are behaving. And as of right now, it's not fat boy friendly, I tell you that much. You know, bouncing around isn't. Well, there it goes again. And we're just on Sepulveda, you know, down the street from the shop. No big potholes. It's like cut springs. No bueno. And we're on the alignment rack. Finally getting it knocked out. Changed coilovers. Things are kind of eyeballed, but not quite there. So even though everything was eyeballed and bubble gauged, we're still off. Let's see here. Our toes off in the front. It's an exaggerated view. Oddly enough, the car does track straight, which is really, really weird. And the rear toe. Rear toe is off. Nothing we can do about that on the CRZ. The CRZ has this weird live axle, and I don't think I could see it from here. It's a little dark. I'm about to get a light under there and show you guys. But it's a straight axle, similar to that on the Honda Fit. But on the Honda Fit, the hub itself detaches. It's able to come off. You can use what's called a shim to manipulate the rear alignment. In this case, you can't. It's welded to the actual hub itself is welded to the straight axle. So it is what it is. And so it's a cool design, and what it is, Honda did a good job. The car does handle really well, but it's basic. It's like, if you ever looked underneath the Ford Focus, VW, like Jettas and stuff like that, it's kind of the same thing. Honda just does it better, because Honda always does it better. Let me see if I can lift this thing up and show you guys. All right, let's get the light in here. So it's a weird straight axle. Wonky stuff, but it works. Kinda.